Hello and welcome to the Connection Church podcast. Thank you for joining us. My name is Zach, and with me I have Pastor Chris Light, the one and only.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yes. He likes the spotlight
Thank
shined on
goodness
him.
I'm the only one of me.
Yeah. And also behind the camera we have Jeremiah holding it down.
Hello, hello.
So, yes, well, let's just get right into it. So, we don't have much of a plan for this conversation, but there's a whole lot going on in the world. And I think there's a lot of conversation to be had about just where we're at as a country, how to move forward, how to kind of maybe process some of this. I don't think we are trying to give you all the answers. We're just going to have an open conversation. And we might end up talking about how to be good ambassadors, good evangelists, and how to bring this word with us and share the gospel in our workplace and with our family. So, let's just go for it. So, Chris, you had a really good message this last Sunday.
Okay.
I enjoyed it
Awesome.
very much. You were going through 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Yes, and you were talking about part of it was about the wood, hay, and stubble that Paul refers to, and how it's not necessarily something bad or evil. It can be, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just the more, I don't know, maybe a little less meaningful things that we do throughout our life.
Yeah, like the fact that not everything that we enjoy has an eternal consequence to it. You know, meaning that everybody has some wood, hay, and stubble in their lives as far as things like, you know, watching some TV, or if you have a hobby you're into, or, you know, if I go play a game of golf or something like that. I'm not necessarily expecting to receive some sort of eternal reward from that.
Yeah.
So is it just kind of like, hey, is it like something that, you know, is not going to fall under the category of treasure in heaven? Yeah, probably. Does that mean that we shouldn't have anything like that in our life? No. It's good to have some things that are, you know, self-serving, which is part of like a definition of wood, hay, and stubble is like self-serving stuff. Now, if your whole life is consumed by those things, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Because everything's going to burn up. And then are there more, you know, I didn't touch on this part of it so much on Sunday because it just didn't feel like it was the word for the church that day, but are there more like deviant forms of hay and stubble?
Yeah.
You could say that. I mean, certainly sin is going to fall into the category of wood, hay, and stubble, you know. But I almost think that once you start talking about sin, especially like, you know, really like sinful actions and practicing sin in your life, I almost think that goes beyond the wood, hay, and stubble to the warning that comes after that about defiling the temple, right?
Yeah.
So I still go back to the wood, hay, and stubble and just look at it as sort of like self-serving things that are not done for anyone else. They're not done to build the kingdom of God. They're not aiding people. They're not advancing the gospel. You know, it's just things that are in your life that, as I said, are not producing eternal reward, but having a little bit of that is probably okay.
Yeah, so it's more of a broad term about things we might enjoy that we're not going to be taking with us, right?
Correct.
And there are plenty of things that we all enjoy that we're just not going to be taking with us. And maybe it's not about what we're doing, it's about how we're doing it, right? Because even a lot of the activities we might engage in, you know, that would be considered wood, hay, and stubble, You can find some life in them, right? Like, getting together with a good group of guys to go play disc golf.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's coming together in community. You can have a good time.
Absolutely.
And there's some serious value in that. And even those relationship builders, those kind of things in our lives, like that is something that will come with us, right?
I agree. And and I think that was kind of the point of what I was saying on Sunday too, is like, I recently took my kids to, or two of my kids, I took them to Disneyland. And I suppose you could really get spiritual with it and say, well, you're doing this with your children and there's some, but basically we were there to like unplug from everything and just have a good time. So I said on Sunday, like, my primary purpose in going there, as bad as it sounds, was not evangelism.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I wasn't open to sharing the Lord with somebody if the opportunity came. Yeah. It's just, ultimately, I classify that trip as like, I don't want to try to like spiritualize everything I do. Yeah. Some things you just do because it was fun to do with the family. So, or whatever, like every time I work on a guitar, I don't think, I'm like advancing the kingdom of God. It's just something I like to do because it's, it's satisfying to me. It stimulates my mind. So, yeah.
I guess it's kind of a freeing idea in a little bit, in a small way, that we can really just enjoy things and we don't have to be dialed in all the time.
So when I'm preaching the word, I always want to keep things like, this sounds cliche, but like keeping it real, but almost more like keeping it realistic.
Yeah.
I don't want to present the gospel in such a way that people just feel like, well, all the fun in life is over. And, I have to put on this front constantly, right? Yeah. I think that leans into a form of asceticism, which is actually being like stricter than the Word of God requires, to where you're just like, I'm eliminating everything from my life. We kind of touched on that when we talked about music as well. Like, no, now music is only to occupy this place in my life. It's like, no, music is a pretty broad thing. Yeah. And maybe having some music in your life once in a while for fun that's like wood, hay, and stubble is okay, so that's my thoughts on it. Now, that being said, and to keep it balanced for you who may not have seen the sermon on Sunday or heard it, we did talk about building the gold and the silver and the precious stones. Absolutely. And the eternal things on the foundation which has been laid, which is the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah. And, chiefly, or not chiefly, but one of the main things among that is building good character that makes you a person who is reliable in service, reliable in intercession, reliable when Jesus gives you an assignment to do. Can you finish it? So we weren't just talking about how like wood, hay, and stubble is great. Yeah. But I just wanted to keep it like, I want to give people a real representation of what it means to serve the Lord. I grew up in a time in church where pastors were kind of like elevated, and they came across a certain way on Sundays and whenever you talk to them, and you would have thought this person has literally no wood, hay, and stubble in their lives. Now, those who really knew them behind the scenes, like if you talk to their kids would tell you, oh, they had some wood, hay, and stubble. But in fact, when I was first going through ministry school to get licensed as a pastor, I went through a 2-year process called the MIP program through the Church of God. But they literally instructed us to keep a distance from the people in your church. Yeah. Like you It sounds so crazy now, but we were literally instructed to present that front to people. And the reason was they thought that your word would carry more weight with people if they thought you were a certain way.
Yeah.
Turns out what really carries weight with people is having relationship with them. Relational collateral is what builds mandate in people's lives, not coming across as, some kind of sanctimonious person.
Yeah.
So I always want to keep it real when I'm talking about those things. And, it's always weird to get a compliment as a pastor, like about your whatever you're preaching, and it's not like that happens a ton for me. But one compliment that I consistently get that I'm always like, well, I actually do appreciate that she said that, is that I'm transparent.
Yeah. Yeah.
That,
and it goes
it's like,
a long way.
Like what you see from the pulpit is what you're going to see when I'm wherever.
Yeah.
For better or
Love
worse.
it or hate it.
Yeah. It's just, this actually is what it is, So the bad jokes, the everything. It's like, this is just who I am. So I like that in the teaching of the word too, that it's like, we're giving a fair, attainable presentation of what it means to live for God.
Yeah.
I
think that's such a valuable thing for our church, your transparency, but also your availability.
Yeah.
And we're not a mega church, which frees you up to be able to have that relational collateral with people. And that's been a very valuable part in me coming to this church. Yeah. And also it kind of cultivates that for other people.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that more and more where people are just kind of opened up to having a relationship, and even a relationship that might, involve going out and enjoying some wood, hay, and stubble sometimes,
Yeah.
And that's super cool to see, just a church that's able to get together and they're transparent, they're real people, they're able to hang out. It doesn't always have to be, like we're here to talk about the scripture. We can have fun, we can enjoy each other as people.
Yeah.
And I like how you said that it just wasn't your primary purpose in being there, but obviously you're open to that.
Yeah.
I feel that way at work, right? When I go to work, I'm there to work. I'm not getting paid to go preach the gospel.
Yeah.
Right. But if the opportunity arises, or I feel called just to say something or ask somebody a question, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So bringing that mindset to work has really helped me, and it's helped me not push people away, and it's a process, and it's kind of funny because I have these steps whenever we get a new guy that comes on, first, I don't know. It usually comes up pretty organically. Ask them what they're about, and that kind of thing. And then I'll just ask them, what do you believe?
Yeah.
What's going on? What do you think about the state of the world and that kind of stuff? And you're like, specifically on the belief question, it's a lot of beating around the bush. And,
sure.
And maybe they went to church and they just don't go anymore. They grew up into the church. We just hired a guy that he's like, yeah, my dad was a Bible thumper and all these things, and the dude just keeps talking, right? You ask people about themselves and they love to talk. So he just kept talking, and by the end of it he was talking about how the first time he did mushrooms was with his dad. And I'm like, wait,
the
what?
Bible thumper.
Wait a second, But anyways, it's simple questions for me that go a long way, and I've built a lot of good relationships, and just by asking the simple question, what do you believe? What do you think's going on? And you would be shocked how many people that question surprises. People don't think about it so often. They're not thinking about where they're at in reality, what it is that they believe. A lot of times people are just kind of walking around without a belief, you know, and if I can get those wheels turning in somebody's mind, that's all I need to do, and then naturally they'll ask, like, what do you do? What do you believe in? And then that opens up a door for me to tell them about why I believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
And then it's not so much about me arguing with them. It's about how I walk, how I carry myself. And that makes me a little more conscious of my behavior, and sometimes at the end of the day, I'm looking back on it like I did not set a great example here. I was engaging in arguments or, talking to people in not a great way. And I don't know, it's just a healthy motivator for me to not just like work is work, but I'm still a child of God. I still have a mission and a purpose on this earth, and I can carry that everywhere I go.
Yeah. So again, these are things that for some reason it always feels like they're going to be unpopular when you say them. But you're right. You're hired there primarily to do a job. And part of the responsibility too, as a Christian and as a child of God, is that if somebody has given you money to perform this thing, then you need to dedicate everything you can to doing that. Like,
which is biblical,
that's
right?
honest, and you're right. You don't have to, of course, stop being a Christian. You're representing Jesus even with your work ethic, with how you communicate, the language you use, the jokes you tell. Like, everything is a way of representing the Lord. I was the same way even while I was pastoring and working when I was a bivocational minister. I didn't see my primary job there as pastoring the guys at that place. Although when the opportunity arose, I would do so. And honestly, they all knew what I was and who I was. And whenever there was a tragedy in their family or whenever there was hardship, who'd they come to for prayer? Who'd they come to for counsel? Who'd they ask if I could open my church doors and like if I could host their family? And then I am in a place where it's like, this is my job. And I'm preaching the gospel to their lost loved ones, So, but I always kept that in mind that, no, I have been compensated. I have been given money to do this task for this person. And if I'm seeing something else as my number one mission there, in a sense, I almost feel like I'm stealing from them. Can't emphasize this enough for the 1 out of 100 people that might get offended by that. Yes, we're ready to share Jesus with everybody at any moment and willing to stop and even take time and pray for somebody who needs prayer. But, I'm a big fan of letting things be what they are. Like, even with our church functions, if we do an event that is specifically designed for seeing people get connected with each other, like some kind of fun event or whatever, I'm 9 times out of 10, I am not going to stop the fun, bring everyone together, and teach a Bible study to them. We have things that are dedicated for that. So we also don't stop the Bible study and, have a water balloon fight or whatever. But, we let things be what they are. And just represent the Lord in everything we do.
It seems like a lot of people will kind of look at it as one or the other, and when you run into the fact that you cannot just always be, clicked in, and I don't know, maybe you just fizzle out a little bit because it's like, it's just not practical. We're not capable of just 100% all the time, just being clicked in to the Spirit and, what's going on around us. So I don't know, but a lot of people would say that's what evangelism is, right? Is like, oh, I need to pray for healing for you, or I need to, speak this scripture into your life, or even I need to make a correction where I think you're doing things wrong. When it can be more simple than that. It can be how we live.
Yeah, I mean, evangelism in its purest form is just sharing the gospel of Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, where and when and how that happens can be all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, when are the opportunities to do that? You know, should I be forcing that conversation with somebody before it's time? It's a tricky thing, because you also don't want to just assume that that person has more time. So, but at the same time too, I've done that sort of like guilt evangelism.
Yeah.
Like you hear a message at church and you're like, okay, I gotta go tell everybody. And then at work you go in and just unload on everybody, and they're like, this guy,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like saying it has to look a certain way.
I don't know. I think about the mustard seed parable and just becoming this thing that provides shade for people, you know, something that people can flock to. And like you said, when they do come into a hard time or they need prayer, you're the guy there, right? You're willing to do that for them. And that is, they don't realize how valuable that is until, you know, something pops up. And, you know. So to be that open door is really important. So another part of the wood, hay, and stubble that I think would be worth getting into, and we were talking about a little bit, is not letting it have power over you. And I think I'm thinking of social media in particular, or just even traditional media, and how that to me is definitely a category of wood, hay, and stubble. You know, I don't have a problem if you have TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, or even if you're watching, you know, the popular news outlets all the time, you know, maybe not all the time, but
I think all the time is
all the time's a problem. But we were talking about just kind of knowing when to unplug a little bit, and just the fact that we are not designed or created to take in so much information, 90% of which is negative. Like you can try to curate your feed or whatever, but you're going to see tragedy after tragedy, and we just can't process it. I mean, we have too many school shootings to count this year. You can't even process or grieve it before the next one happens. And
that was honestly my concern. Sorry to cut you off there, but good. That was honestly my concern, like with the Charlie Kirk assassination, is that the news cycle is so rabid and so ridiculous now. Like just, you know, we used to, when cable news first came out, like I think I've established I'm older than you and Jeremiah, but I remember before cable news, you know, and when cable news came out, it's like, oh, you are being introduced to the 24-hour news cycle, you know, like that did not exist before. You didn't get 24-hour news. Now it's beyond that, because it's like, it's 24/7, but it's also 24/7 from 1,000 different sources and so many different voices. And so I was worried with the Charlie Kirk assassination that it's like, we all know and felt, like, I can't even explain it. I've gotten so many text messages and Marco Polo messages from other pastors and leaders going like, you feel how this hit different, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, it 100% did. My concern is it just gets washed over. And honestly, you know, I feel like almost the coverage of it right now is going to lead to it being washed over. Like now it's like every time somebody, you know, makes a bad social media post about him or kind of mocks the fact that he died or whatever, they lose their job. And then we get a news update. So-and-so was fired for this. And then everybody's like, they were fired. And then it's like, so-and-so. And it's like that almost now, like this fringe weird elements response to his death almost becomes more the story
Yeah.
than what he lived for, not just how he died.
I think it takes away from his message.
It kind of does, to where we almost get addicted to the endorphins of going like, oh, this person got what was coming to them.
My side's winning.
They got
now.
fired for it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, ultimately, and I'm not saying they shouldn't get fired. I'm not their boss. That's not my thing. But I'm just saying, like, it almost gets to the point to where we're just enamored with all the little distractions and little stories surrounding what the main point is that this guy was a preacher of the gospel.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately that's what he was. I know he was involved in politics and he did some campaigning and things like that. But he, in his own way, because he had a unique way of doing it, he was a preacher of the gospel. He was proclaiming Jesus to people. Yeah. And even in his debates, so many times at the end of the debate, he would just say like, well, I'm going to be praying for you. Yeah. Because I know how much Jesus loves you, and he could make your life so good you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like even after the debate is done, where this person is mad at him, he's just like, but let me tell you something about Jesus.
He always humanized them.
Oh yeah.
And what we're seeing in media is just dehumanizing everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like so I get burnt out on just the stuff to where pretty soon he's gonna be like the secondary story. Another tragedy is gonna happen, or another big news thing, or another war, or another whatever, and then it's gone. Just like the school shootings that are gone. Yep. Just like I heard on a podcast I was listening to today. They mentioned about the politician in Minnesota who was killed, her and her husband. And I'm like, what? When did that happen? And then I remember like, oh yeah, that was a huge story. Yeah. The guy who dressed like a cop and did, but
even just that Ukrainian lady that got killed just before Charlie Kirks.
And that story's already like fading away. Yeah. It's just like, so talking about wood, hay, and stubble, to me, like if I have any pet peeve or soapbox about today's culture, it is the news media. I just feel like it is so divisive and so just consuming people's minds about this stuff. Like, I don't need to see another newscaster's outrage about Charlie Kirk and how they've gone too far this time. This time we're what?
Yeah. What's the plan here? Yeah.
Like, oh, they crossed the line this time. We're gonna what? Like, what are you even saying?
Yeah, start a crusade.
We're gonna start shooting people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, and again, I know that there's people listening to this who are not gonna like it, but it's like, he lost his life for preaching the gospel, as far as I'm concerned. He won't be the first. I mean, he's not the first, and he won't be the last.
Yeah.
That happens. Yeah. I think it is fair to put him in the category of a martyr, right? Not just that he was murdered, but that he was martyred for his teaching on Jesus, and for the stands he was making in this culture, which a segment of our culture has embraced some lifestyles and things that are completely immoral and unbiblical. So he stands against those. It cost him his life. Watching everybody's, well, it's because you're saying this or you're saying that or you're saying, it's like, hey, this is for us as Christians. This is what happens. And again, I'm not even saying that Christians, especially Christians in America, that we don't have the right to defend ourselves. Or I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, like, this guy was martyred for teaching and preaching about Jesus. And that's...
Yeah, I was thinking about today, Marcus Aurelius didn't write much about Christians, but he did a little bit, and he was just baffled by them. They weren't scared of dying. They weren't scared of persecution. He was just confused. They seemed stupid to him, you know, and that's part of understanding and accepting the mystery of the gospel. But yeah, I mean, when I think of Jesus saying, turn the other cheek, right? That's not just him cowering away.
No.
You know, he's not telling you to be a coward and let people abuse you. He's telling you to stand up and offer the other cheek, right? And I think it's easier said than done, you know, but I think this is a pivotal time where the church just needs to, you know, relax, stand up for what we believe in, identify evil, name it for what it is, and I mean...
And take a break from the news.
Take a break from the news.
Yeah.
You know, and just become that shade for people to turn to. People are starving for truth.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually as these lines get farther and farther apart, there's only going to be one place to turn to. There is one thing that AI cannot contaminate. And that's the Word of God. Which is another entire subject, but... You know, I think culture is just getting pushed so far into darkness, and we don't need to engage even in arguments, you know, like, and we need to be a pillar of truth that people can turn to. And slapping people over the head with the Bible it's not going to win you an argument. Responding on YouTube comments, you know, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do what you want it to do.
No, I find a couple of things here just before I move on from like the Charlie Kirk and the news media things and stuff like that. You know, I'm not saying I never watched the news either or anything like that. I remember a time when I was a kid where you would get about a half hour of news a day. You know, that's all there was. They had a half hour of local news, but then a half hour of national news. I feel like I can maybe tolerate about that much and still be okay and not still think like, oh, this is the whole world. You know, no, it's not. So I can watch about that much of it. And then two, I also want to say, I was praying for the guy who shot him to get caught. And I hope that the trial is handled correctly, and I hope that justice is done. You know, I'm not some like pacifist as far as like, oh, you know, we should just, you know, the right thing to do would be whatever. No. There needs to be justice done for this. I just don't see the value in me watching the reactions to this every waking moment, right? It's like, no, there are people who that's their job to do the justice part of it. And I'll want to know as things are progressing, but you know what I mean? There are times in evangelism where you're going to be called to go into places that are like hostile or, you know, and like confront people with the gospel. And there's times where that has to be done. I still even think that should be done in the right way. You know, knowing your audience, knowing who you're speaking to. I heard it a example that was kind of less than stellar. Like, you know, I mentioned going to Disneyland earlier. I was coming out of Disneyland, and I had my daughters with me who are adults, so it was fine that they heard this. But there was a group of about 3 or 4 guys, and one of them had they're right outside like the entrance to the park, so they're on city property. And a couple of them are handing out tracts, and one of them has like a little loudspeaker and a microphone, and he's preaching the word, it was sweet. It's like, oh, this is cool. And a guy goes to hand me a tract, and I'm like, hey, brother, save it for somebody who needs it, because I know Jesus. I love Jesus. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
So I want to see that tract get to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's why I told him I didn't want it. But in this guy's preaching, as I'm standing there waiting for the light to turn for the walk sign, there's probably 200-300 people standing there. There's, this is a mob coming out of the park.
Yeah.
Little kids, people with mouse ears on, all this stuff, moms, just family standing there. And he's talking about, rape and,
Yeah.
mass shootings, and just, he's talking about like prostitution. I mean, he was actually listing like the worst of the worst atrocities and sins, talking about, and there's like little 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds there. And I'm like, brother, I'm just thinking, know your audience.
Yeah.
You gotta, Paul was very good at knowing his audience. The famous example of him being at Mars Hill, and it's like, how am I going to connect with these people? And he's like, oh, I see you're very religious. You even have a tomb to the unknown God.
Yeah. Let me tell you about him.
God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he was always pivoting, so it's like, okay, if I'm wanting to connect with this mom who's standing here, but I'm saying stuff so atrocious that she's just trying to cover her little kid's ears, I'm not getting anywhere with it, So, again, it's just all that part of evangelism, knowing your audience, being sensitive to where you're at. Why are you there? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
Thinking it through like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would like to make it clear that I'm not against justice being served either. I mean, there's debate over how this is going to be handled, but that's out of my hands, and I don't need to be completely consumed by it.
Yeah,
But
when I watch on YouTube Shorts, and there's different, conservative influencers and stuff like that. And, they're walking out their front door holding an AR-15 going like, they went too far this time, you woke people, whatever. And it's like, okay, first of all, you're just trying to get clicks and views. Yeah. You're not going to go out and do anything like that, Yeah. It's just, and you're just, I don't see the value in that.
Yeah, I saw a big Christian page, and he posted this picture, and he said, I think it's time I start taking my faith more seriously. And it was a picture of a crusader, right? Yeah. And just like this idea that we're going to bring the fight, and it's just, I don't know. Doesn't seem like the right message.
It's not the right message. And the Crusaders didn't do it the right way.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I could get into that, but that would certainly
podcast.
upset people. Yeah. So it's like, it's too much. I mean, like, say people are watching all this stuff, and getting more and more aggravated. But it's like, okay, how much time have you spent like praying for his wife and kids?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the part where it's like, I think, we lose sight of the real story here, which is that this man, whatever we learn about this young guy who shot him, and who his partner was, and what they're, even before we knew any of that, we knew that clearly this guy was shot for being a preacher of the gospel.
This is a spiritual
and now
thing.
There is a wife without a husband, and there are kids who are going to grow up without their dad. And, but how can we keep this this movement going that he was doing in these colleges, which is like such a valid mission field.
Yeah.
To have, Jesus represented in these places that are so aggressively tearing down issues of faith. I mean, so for us as Christians, like, I almost feel like we get pulled more into the Democrat, Republican, liberal, woke junk, you know what I mean? That whole thing, which just aggravates you. Yeah. I mean, if I watch too much of it, I'm mad too.
It'll fill you up with hate.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm mad too. I want to go out and slap someone or something. It's like, but what are we? Yeah. What are we doing? It's like there's a huge kingdom eternal thing here at stake that, getting mad at all these people, which they're easy to get mad at. I get it, but it's like, I don't know if we can look at anything else he was super good at, is that he was staying calm.
Yeah.
In these things, always being respectful and.
Yeah, I admired him a lot.
Yeah.
I think it was very inspiring what he was doing. But yeah, what does it look like instead of focusing on anger and, just the hate and divisiveness that comes out of this? What does it look like to look at Charlie's message and start applying that message?
Yeah.
How much better would it be for you just to honor Charlie by doing that?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think part of us standing firm and affecting culture is kind of, it starts in the family, and that was a big part of Charlie's message. He wanted to restore Christian values to families. So like, instead of getting mad at this dude that has a different opinion than you, and like, it's objectively wrong, a lot of what you see out there. I mean, you can name it for what it is and say, this is not biblical. This is not how we should be thinking. This is not how we should be operating. But
any way you want to look at it, it's
why
wrong.
Are you going to spend that much time focusing on it when you could spend time taking Charlie's message and really applying it to your life? And I completely agree with Charlie. If we want a better nation, if we want a healthier church, like, we obviously have work to do personally in our own hearts.
Yeah.
But the next step to me is building families up.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a little snippet of him, and I'm sure that everybody has watched, a bunch of clips of him lately, but I saw a little snippet of him. It was just like the very end of a debate time he had or something, but he went on a thing with this group of girls that did like OnlyFans videos or something like that, and the clip didn't even have the debate of it or whatever. It was just the end, like the closing statement, of the video. And he said, well, before I go, he said, I just want to tell each and every one of you that I'm going to be praying for you, and that Jesus has something so much better for your life, and that God loves you more than, like, this is what he's telling them.
That's the message.
Yeah. And when he's done, he's like, and I just hope you know that about Jesus. And one of the girls spoke up, and she said, she spoke for herself. She said, I've never had a Christian talk that respectful to me before.
Yeah. It's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people need.
Yeah.
That's what the lost need right now.
Yeah.
They don't need our condemnation.
Yeah.
They don't need our judgment. Leave the judgment to God.
Yeah.
Right? And give them hope.
Yeah.
Give them grace, And a lot of times we tend to see the evil that a person might be doing, and we just say that person is evil, But in my reality, I mean, a lot of what you're seeing in today and our nation's kind of descent into a lot of this chaos is spiritual. And I think that there is oppression over these people. And I think that is what's evil. That is what's demonic. And we need to see them as fellow image bearers and bring a message of hope, right? Bring a message of grace. Yeah. And Charlie did that very well.
He did indeed. And, I think where it gets a little confusing for people, and, I'll probably be done with this because, it's one of those things you could talk about forever. Yeah. But I think one of the things that's confusing for people is Charlie as a public figure and evangelist who, initially, I think he really saw his mission field as college campuses. Mm-hmm. And we know the impact and the size that Turning Point grew into.
Wild. I didn't realize until after all this.
It's even more giant now. Yeah. I think it's had like 32,000 new applications for chapters, mm-hmm. probably more now. That news is a day or two old. But I think what gets confusing for people is he did kind of cross over into the political area. Yeah. And that's great for him. He ended up with the kind of platform to do that. And I think sometimes we watch like the senators we vote for, and they're like, really upset about something or fighting it out in the Senate floor or mm-hmm. doing whatever. And it's like, okay, but that's their job to do that. Yeah. And they're in a position to make a difference where they're at doing that. So it's like, I'll vote for that person to go do that. If that's, it used to be that people saw public office as a calling. Yeah. That they were called to do that. And it's like, okay, that's that person's job. I'm glad they're there doing that. Mm-hmm. Yes, you were voted to go represent us and fight for the people, fight for our liberties, bring justice, do all those things. Okay, that's their assignment. Yeah. But if I'm just watching constantly and taking all that and internalizing it, now it's taking me out of my assignment into another, like having a heart for an assignment that I can't do anything about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like me being super angry about some politician who's on the other side of the country.
There's no outlet for it.
Yeah. And then honestly, 90% of the people I would talk to about that, 99% already agree with me. Yeah. They're in my circle of people. Mm-hmm. So all I'm doing is just regurgitating this stuff for no reason.
In an echo chamber.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, I got better things to do. Yeah. I've got better things to do. I could tell you the 5 different things I've done today that have nothing to do with any of that stuff and that are all directly related to connecting with people mm-hmm. and helping them. Yeah. I got better things to do.
Yeah. We all do.
Yeah. We all do. Whether we are living like it or not, we all do.
We have families. Yeah. Right? We have friends. Yep. We have churches. We have better things to do.
Yep. We have communities. Mm-hmm. We have kids in schools to impact. There's lots of things we can do other than,
Yeah. Maybe open up your Bible instead of getting on TikTok. Might go a long way.
Yeah. There are more and more people just going ahead and acknowledging that it's a net loss. Mm-hmm. You can find good things, but overall, especially the amount of time it is consuming and the impact it's having on our brains and our attention spans and everything else, it is a net loss. Yeah. Like, try it sometime where you just leave for a few hours and leave your phone behind and you're just out somewhere. Yeah. Like with nothing, like just go sit somewhere and just allow your brain to just, you'll find it just starts processing. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, so many people have not had that time in years and years.
Years.
It's just constant.
Yeah, I grew up with nothing but that time.
Yeah, yeah. People don't think it's okay to be bored these
We
days.
had 3 channels and they were all fuzzy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like you did a lot of thinking.
Yeah, and I was, I'm a bit younger, as we've mentioned, but like I was born into the 24-hour news cycle and more of a media presence in my childhood maybe, but the amount it's just escalated in the last 15, 20 years is remarkable. And we can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And you're seeing its effects in all of us, old, young, like everybody's falling into this trap.
Yeah.
And it'll suck you in. You got to be careful with it. And specifically, I mean, as a parent, like my son's only 5, but I'm already thinking about how do I navigate this, because he's going to go to school. He's going to be around kids that have iPhones, at the age of like 7 or whatever.
I know.
And he's going to be exposed and he's going to naturally want to be like the other kids. So like, how do I navigate that? And how do I make sure that I can cultivate enough joy in what's real, what does have eternal consequences, and like, how can I live that out to where he desires that? But it's a big conversation. I think there's been so much going on in the world, and it's hard to know where it's heading. For me, it's easy to kind of become fearful. Not even for myself, but for my kids and what they might be growing up into. It might sound, I don't know, selfish. It probably doesn't, but like, I don't want my son to have to grow up to be a martyr. I want him to live a happy life, and I don't know. It does cause some concern in me, but I have to keep reminding myself that God's above it all. And he's got control of it. This is nothing he hasn't dealt with before. It's evil, it's sin. You look at what was going on in the time, even in Israel, of the terrible kings that you read about in the Bible. It's like they were doing horrific things. So
which led to other nations oppressing them, which even did more horrific things to them. And then they would cry out to God,
so
get delivered, and start all over again.
I do wonder if we're at kind of a turning point, and
a turning point.
Oh yes, a tipping point, a turning point. But I don't know. A lot of people might have their ideas about eschatology, right? There's a lot of debate around that. We've had conversations about it. And no matter where you stand, I just think we have a purpose. We have a job to do here. So let's get dialed into it, right?
That would be a good next podcast.
Eschatology? Oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Okay. I heard a Martin Luther. It's attributed to Martin Luther. He said, "If I knew the world was going to fall to pieces tomorrow, I'd still plant my apple tree." And I think we need to come at it with that mindset. Like, I don't know what tomorrow has for me or the world, but today I have a purpose. And I need to be serving God. I need to get into the Word so I can understand God, right, and learn about Him. But we gotta live it out.
One little thing. Obviously, we could talk about the whole Charlie Kirk thing for days. But I want to talk to the people out there that are listening to this. If you're a Christian and you're scared, you're worried about what's coming next, I want to encourage you. We lost someone. But there's a revival happening. I agree wholeheartedly with Pastor Chris. He died as a martyr, and so many people are realizing that, Christian and non-Christian alike. So many people went out and bought a Bible for the first time to read it after this. And it makes me think of like the first martyr in the Bible, of Stephen, and how the church boomed after that. And I really hope that Charlie Kirks, not just death, his assassination, it has that effect, that long-lasting effect on the church, that this revival means something. So his death isn't for nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I have so much faith in that God can work all things for good, and He has a plan in this.
Yeah, and one thing that I am additionally praying for is for the shooter himself. I don't just pray for justice to be served. Of course, that's important, but at the same time, I'm praying for his conviction. For Christ to enter his heart, to realize the wickedness of what he's done. After how many times does this happen and the shooter stays alive? That we catch them, right? This is an opportunity for him to be convicted by the Holy Spirit, and even if he meets justice for the horrible things that he's done, if he has a last word, I want it to be I'm sorry. Charlie, I see what you were fighting for. And this all needs to stop. This all needs to end.
Yeah.
Yep.
That got heavy.
Yep. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. This is just, kind of a thing that we're doing to put some thoughts out there, get some conversation going, and hopefully be sharing some truths. So, yeah, glad you jumped on.
Yeah. God bless everybody. See you next time.